Yo, welcome back to the channel everyone, and today is the day we are about to sauce up the 2-valve and turn the boost all the way up. We're gonna be finally going ahead and installing the 2.87 pulley back on this car, and we're also going to be putting this car on the rollers with a fresh tune to utilize the new Treadstone TR 1245 intercooler, which is good for 1,000 wheel horsepower. Now before, this setup with the 2.87 and the CX Racing intercooler made 13.5 pounds of boost and made 450 wheel, 450 torque. With this improved intercooler, I'm thinking this car should be on the brink of 500 wheel horsepower. Now the system in the car right now, the fuel system is good to about 550 BPH. So we're literally just gonna go ahead, turn the car up all the way, max out the fuel system, and let her loose and see what happens. So with all being said, if you guys enjoy the content on the channel, make sure you guys drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and also turn on those post notifications to stay up to date. Now what we're also going to be installing today is going to be this new Innovate gauge. This is going to be a pretty cool gauge because it's going to have the integrated air fuel ratio as well as the boost in there, so we can kind of monitor everything. I'm thinking this car is probably going to make somewhere between like 15 and like 17 pounds of boost on this new setup. It's a stock bottom end 2-valve. We're just going to go ahead and full send it because I have another motor being built right now, and we're just going to max things out. I also have to swap the belt. This is going to be the belt for the 2.87 pulley. I got the pulley in here over as well. This is the old junk intercooler, so we're going to see what this car can do. Man. Half the tank is kind of where this car gets scheduled. Alright, we are all gassed up, at least to the point where I'm happy with where it's at, because we all know how these stock DG tanks like to act. You guys probably can't even hear me.
Freeway frontage road towards US 59 North.
Alright, as I was saying, we are all gassed up, at least to the point where I am happy with where it is with the car. Know how these stock GT tanks like to act. Now I'm headed out to the shop. I'm actually not going to CUNDN Racing this time. Nothing against CUNDN Racing. They're building my motor. I have 110%, you know, back with them. I know they're gonna do a good job, but because I am new to the Houston area, I do want to go ahead and see what some other shops can do out here. I'm actually taking the car to HDR, Heidman Racing Dynamics. I was recommended by a couple buddies to go to this shop. Also saw a lot of good reviews. I know they work on, you know, newish Mustangs as well, so we're about to see what they can do. I mean, they are doing some install work. They aren't building my motor. I hope you guys can hear me. And they are doing some install work, you know, pulley swap, belt swap, and rewiring my gauge. So they're not building my motor. Obviously these things are important and I do trust them with it, but I do kind of want to see, you know, their quality of work versus CUNDN's quality of work. Both good, hopefully, because CUNDN is like, they're like one of the best shops I've been to so far. I mean, I'm talking about Illinois and Texas shops, so we're about to see what HDR can do. Ooh, Q50. Honestly, you know what? Those Q50s are ridiculously fast for what they are. They are ridiculously fast.
Take the exit to merge onto Sam Houston Tollway North, then keep left.
Like, I'm gonna keep it a full buck. I 100% would build a Q50.
Use the left 2 lanes to keep left to merge onto Sam Houston Tollway North.
100% would build up a Q50. Q50s with like upgraded turbos and like full E85 fuel systems, like taking out cars that like I would never think like, I'm not really gonna say it's an economy sedan because it's definitely not like that. It's definitely like a sporty sedan, but you guys get my point. A sedan that can be used quite literally as a daily driver is taking out cars that like it should not be messing with. Like I've seen the Q50s take on GTRs. I've seen Q50s take on like boosted like Mustangs and stuff like that. So it's kind of crazy that like the time we live in where you can literally get a sedan, have everything inside, like, you know, heated seats, AC blowing, and make like 600 wheel horsepower out of it and just go out racing. It's crazy. Alright, I think we're about to pull up in like a couple minutes. And in all reality, I think I've actually passed by this shop multiple times before. I think we're like somewhere like near Cypress, Texas, I believe.
Turn left.
We're definitely not that far from where I was like this weekend, so. I don't know, Texas is weird. Like they got a bunch of stuff like around the same area, so. Let me get all the way over to the left lane. Yeah, we're about to pull up. We're like a couple minutes out. Alright, so we're back on my side of town. Hopefully the wind noise isn't too bad. It's just my luck. Whenever I try to record a video outside, the wind noise is crazy, but holy shit, I can guarantee you none of you guys, including myself, thought the car was gonna put down the numbers it did. Now, the numbers it put down with the 3.12 pulley was pathetic. I didn't even think it was even under 400 wheel horsepower. Realistically, I thought what it made with the 287 pulley is what the car was making with the 3.12, but lo and behold, the car was making like 380 wheel horsepower, which is pathetic. And honestly, it didn't feel like that. I mean, I literally ran the car all 2K week at 380 wheel horsepower and didn't even know. That's actually kind of hilarious. And I did a pull in the car with the setup right now. Unfortunately, my GoPro died, but it does feel like it should. Like, it does feel like how the car did with the 410s, but just with the power just kind of equally distributed it. I'm able to ride second, third, and fourth, so I'm gonna go ahead and get some draggy numbers, the 60 to 130 time, which is not gonna be anything crazy because obviously the car isn't turned up all the way. There's a lot left in it. I know a lot of people like to say that, but there's literally a lot left in this car. We're only running about 17.5 degrees of timing in here. Now, at first, I was just gonna go ahead and send this car to the moon and max everything out. But looking back at it and looking at the graph, there's quite literally no point to do that because the way that the power is delivered with this V1 supercharger, I mean, it's literally too big of a head unit for the stock bottom end and the stock engine with the stock heads and cams to really make sense of just extracting as much power as we can, because we're just going to create so much heat that it really is not going to matter. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the graphs right now so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Alright, so I decided just to jump back into the house because there's a bunch of wind noise and I want you to be able to hear me clearly so I can explain everything, and also I want you guys to be able to see the dyno graph very easily. Now, this was done on a dyno jet, and it is the STD Smoothing 5. The STD Smoothing 5 are going to be the numbers that the car makes when you just literally calibrate it to the dyno, run it, and that's the numbers that the car is putting down currently. This was an 85-degree day in the dyno. The car previously made 450 wheel horsepower on a 60-degree day, and that was on a Mustang dyno of some sort. All I know is it said Mustang dyno on it. I'm not sure what dyno was on, but these are the numbers that the car made on the dyno jet. Now, all we did today was literally swap over from the 312 pulley to the 2.87. That's it. We did not retune the car. There was no tuning done. All it was literally the car strapped down in the dyno, and we let it roll, and this is what happened. So as you guys can see here, with the 312 pulley, the car made 384 wheel horsepower, and it made 377 foot-pounds of torque, which honestly is incredibly low. I honestly thought the car was going to make the power it made with the 2.87 with the 3.12 pulley. So I was really surprised when I saw 384 wheel horsepower, because the car definitely did not feel like it was that slow. I mean, some people are going to say 384, you should be happy with it. It's a 2-valve. I get that, but when you're coming from 450 wheel horsepower, that's a huge fucking drop. So I was very surprised that a 312 pulley, even with that Treadstone intercooler, that really didn't make sense to me. Now, if we went ahead and put the 2.87 pulley on the car, it made 437 wheel horsepower and 420 foot-pounds of torque. Now, previously, we had the 410 gears in the car, and the car did not have the drag radials on it. I had the car on the dyno with the radials, so obviously the radials are going to take away a little bit of horsepower, and I do believe having the 410 gears does alter the torque slightly. So, 437, 420, I'm just going to take the numbers. Again, this is not with a tune. This is literally just me swapping pulleys and letting the car rip on the rollers, and this is what it is. As you guys can see here, the blue line is going to be the 3.12 inch pulley, and the car is pretty much linear. I mean, the powered band is smooth, and there really isn't any drop off. We spun this car up to 6,200 RPMs, didn't go over past that because it's stock head, stock cams. There's absolutely no reason to do that, and the car isn't going to make any power past 6K anyway. Now, the red line is going to be the 2.87 pulley, and you're going to really see a huge difference once we get around to 4,500 RPMs. This is where the Vortech V1 TI trim is really going to shine. You can see the massive jump in power difference between the two pulleys. You're going to really have to spin these Vortech V1 race blowers a lot faster than the regular Vortech V3 SI. Now, I do believe if I had the V3 SI trim on this car with the 2.87, we would have saw a lot more power, because obviously it's going to be utilizing, the blower more efficiently with the heads cams combo I have, and the power isn't going to be all made around 4,500 RPM. So this is a huge jump. Once I do go ahead and get the new motor into the car with the heads cams combo, this is going to be honestly unbelievably different than what we're seeing right now, just based off of how this blower is reacting. Now, you guys can also see here, it's just a ridiculous climb, and then there's a small dip around 59. This is like kind of where the power just kind of tapers off of. But you guys can see here, it kind of goes up a little bit and then we shut it down. So there's a lot left in this car. The blower, in my personal opinion, and from what we discussed, is technically too big for the stock bottom end. Well, not too big, but it would utilize a heads cam setup with this car into Me 85 a lot better than the stock head, stock cams with 93. So if you guys have a stock motor 2-valve and you're not looking to push a lot of power, definitely just go ahead and get a V3 SI head unit or a V2 SI head unit and pulley it down and then let it rip. I mean, 437, 420, 85-degree day on the dyno. I mean, we're gonna go ahead and see what it runs at night. Obviously, you know, 30-degree difference, 60 versus 85, or 25, my bad. 60 versus 85. That's gonna be, you know, a pretty, not a lot of a difference, but it would be noticeable. Now, definitely gonna go ahead and, like I said, run this car with the draggy, see what it puts down, and go from there. I mean, this is the last time I'm gonna be, you know, dyno tuning this car. Not really dyno tuning. This is the last time that I'm gonna have the car on the rollers with this setup. I'm not putting this car back on the rollers until the new motor is in the car and we can really put down some power. This is like drastic, like 50 wheel horsepower difference from quite literally 2 pounds of boost difference. The 2.87 pulley put down 13.5 pounds of boost, and the 312 pulley put down 11.5 pounds of boost, and that was 50 wheel horsepower, 17.5 degrees of timing. That's actually a lot, and I can't believe it made 384. I know you guys can't. Damn. But let me know, man, what you guys think. I know a lot of you guys were expecting this car to make, well, some of you guys actually were spot on. A lot of you guys said between 430 and 450. Personally, I was expecting to like send this thing to the moon and make like 480 wheel horsepower, but you know, it's a 2-valve. You don't know what you're gonna get with the stock 2-valve. I mean, people make numbers that don't make sense. People make numbers like this. So the only thing we can do now is literally just get the built motor in there and really go ahead and let her rip with some E85. So I hope you guys did enjoy. If you guys did, make sure you guys drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, turn those post notifications. And if you guys have any questions, let me know down in the comment section, as well as message me on Instagram. I also have to respond to you guys and kind of help you guys out. So if you guys are trying to go ahead and follow my footsteps, if you have a stock motor 2-valve, definitely go ahead and get yourself a V3 SI head unit instead of a V1 TI trim. You're gonna make more power. And if I were you, I'd 100% go ahead and get a return style fuel system off rip and just run the car on E85. If I could do it all over again, I'd go ahead and take out the fuel system and run a return style, run E85, and I'd just make 500 wheel horsepower. Because personally, I mean, a 2-valve, I mean, if you're gonna spend all the money for boost, I mean, relatively my setup is cheap as fuck. I mean, I have like quite literally less than 10K into this car, including the car, so it's not really a big deal, but quite literally like a brand new Supercharger kit, if you don't find any used deals, it's gonna be like 10K with everything. So you kind of want to make sure it's worth it. I wouldn't do it for anything less than realistically 430 wheel horsepower. I mean, 420, whatever, if you don't really want to push that much. But I would do E85 and send it to 500 wheel all day, just so it's actually worth it. But yeah, catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.